We welcome the bell this morning. And my name is Jennifer Bottomley. My wife and I have been coming here for 12 years. I'm a member of the Music and the Worship Committee and have been honored to serve on the Ministerial Search Committee over the last year. And it is my delight to introduce you to our ministerial candidate, Reverend Heather Concannon. Welcome, Reverend Hannah. So many thanks to Mary Beth back at the back of the room, who is our camera point person today, and Tom Keidel, who is a Zoom usher. Those of you who are here in person, we ask you to mask when you're not speaking in front of a microphone at all times, and then during the coffee hour you can unmask again. Feel free to use the QR codes at the front and the back of the church to pull up the order of service on your phone, or take one of the large print copies that are available at each of the entrances. People of all ages are welcome to move about the sanctuary as they need to, or make themselves comfortable in the cozy zone up here in front of the pews. Children programming for the elementary school age kids will begin today after our time for all ages, or I'm going to call it the Wonder Box today. And our substitute child care provider, Alex, is available to be with the nursery age kids in the narthex in the back and accompany them to our nursery in the parish hall as well. As we begin our service today, we acknowledge that our church was built on the ancestral, unceded land of the Massachusetts people. We acknowledge the devastating legacy of settler colonialism and the continuing harm done to indigenous groups in our community and beyond. May our commitment to justice, equity, and compassion call us to take meaningful restorative action to honor and protect the land and the people. We invite you to bring your perspectives, your beliefs and doubts, and all that is unique and wondrous about you to our service. In the spirit of love, all are welcome here. Now, for the next few Sundays, our sanctuary will be adorned with some beautiful art from two of our congregants. The quilt that you see over the chalice is called Light and Dark, and this is by Mary Harmon. And over by the statue of Theo, who's lost his Easter hat now, are three small pieces of art by Karen Kershoff. You can read about both the quilt and the artwork over by the statue as well. And thank you, Mary and Karen, for your contributions. If you're new to Theater Parker or visiting us for the first time, we'd love for you to stay in touch. You're invited to fill out a connection card, which will give you an opportunity to sign up for our weekly updates and newsletters and help us to welcome you. There's a link to the connection card in the chat box in the Zoom area for those of you on Zoom. Those joining us here in the sanctuary are encouraged to fill out the contact form, and you'll find in the pew within the bright yellow pamphlet that Tori's holding up. We'd like to offer a moment for those joining us remotely to greet those who are joining us in person. So AV folks, could you please put our sanctuary screen in gallery mode so we can see our off-site congregation. Let's give each other a big wave of welcome and fellowship. We hope that each of you will find some comfort to carry with you over the week and some challenge for your thoughts. As always, we wish you, each of you, health, well-being, and a sense of peace. As our pianist Yokiko brings us into worship, she'll be playing the Allegretto Opus 116, number 1, by Benjamin Goddard.
Good morning. Friends, it is such a joy to be here with you this morning, and I'm so looking forward to our week together. Our opening words this morning are from Reverend Margaret Weiss. Come into this place with your whole self, the parts that are raw and exposed, the part that is beaming with joy, the part that is seeking the truth, the new, the possibility. Come into this place, open your heart, lay down your burden, lift up your hope for something new to happen. Come into this place, fellow travelers on the journey, some faces new and others familiar, and all welcoming you here, now, to this moment. Come, let us worship together.
Please rise in body or spirit and join us in singing hymn number 188, Come, Come, Wherever You Are. We'll just do two groups today, so we'll all sing one time through, and then in the round, this will be group one and this will be group two, and I'll try to... Come, come, whoever you
Thank you. Please be seated. Each week we light our chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism, with words of shared covenant. We read them together in English and then in their Spanish translation in honor of this congregation's sister community in Plazuelas, El Salvador. Ben Fox will read them in English and James Cross in Spanish.
Lazy at the back have memorized. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
El amor es el espíritu de esta iglesia y el servicio es nuestra oración. Esta es nuestra gran promesa, vivir juntos en paz, buscar la verdad con amor y ayudarnos los unos a los otros.
So good morning, everybody. Now is the time in our service where we are going to have our story for all ages. And this morning, I have brought a special box, which is something that we do in the congregation that I serve. And each week, there's a mystery item in the box. So this week, Rose and I together have put some mystery items in the box. And I'm wondering, does anybody want to come forward to see a little bit better? Is anybody further away who would like to see? Now's the time that you could come forward and be able to see. Wherever's comfortable for you. Sweet. All right. So this week we are doing a thing called Candidating Week. Who here has heard of Candidating Week? Your search committee has done such a good job. So Candidating Week is a week where I get to know all of you and all of you get to know me a little bit for the whole week. Before next week, the congregation is going to have a big meeting where they vote, right, on whether or not to call me as the minister. So part of the goal for this week is to get to know each other. And in service of that, I have put some items in this box that might help the congregation get to know me a little bit.
And I added some that are more about our congregation, because this week is also for Reverend Heather to get to know us.
All right. So one of the things that I have in this box my cats were not going to be very happy about being put in this box. Actually, one of them would have loved it. He would have been very happy to sleep in it. But I have two cats, and their names are Phoenix, who's a little bit more orange, and Sparrow, who's a little bit more gray. So I brought these to represent my cats, and I'm curious, who here has pets? Who here has animals that are important to them? That's something that I think I have in common with a lot of people here. So that's one thing that I wanted to share about myself.
I love that. I got to say, I've seen Heather's cats. They're a lot more floofy than this. It's really worth seeing. Okay, the first thing I brought in to represent Theodore Parker Church is this card with a photo of our stained glass windows up here. Of course, you probably already know, we are so proud of our beautiful windows. They're just beautiful. How could we not be? Those irises, that scene, the energy that they bring to our sanctuary. We're so grateful for them. But I chose this also because I think it represents more about our congregation that I hope that you'll come to see in the next week. I think we're a congregation that really values beauty, values art. The art that's already here from congregants in the sanctuary values music, this incredible guest musician we have today, as well as our staff musicians. So I picked this out to represent the beauty of our windows and also the beauty in many parts of our congregation's life that I hope you'll come to see.
All right. What else do I have? This is a very special thing I brought from my house. Can anyone see what this is? It's a butterfly. Does anyone know what kind of butterfly it is? It's a monarch butterfly. So I brought this monarch butterfly. My mom found this one in her backyard and gave it to me because she knows that I love, it had already died, just to be clear. She knows that I love monarch butterflies. And one of the things, first of all, I've always loved butterflies. And I think one day I will preach a sermon and I will tell you all about why I think they're so incredible. But for the last 4 years, I have raised monarch butterflies. I live with a 5-year-old, so I live in a house with a lot of grown-ups and a 5-year-old who's almost 6. And he and I have spent a couple of summers, the last 3 or 4 years, finding monarch eggs at our community garden and helping them grow into butterflies and then releasing them so that they can make their journey to Mexico. And it's one of my favorite summertime activities that I always look forward to, and I think it is so beautiful and so miraculous and something that is just a lot of fun and reminds me of the people I live with and also of the miracle of life.
So beautiful. Okay, the next one that I chose about TPC is this mug. I don't know, this will be familiar to people who have been around for a while and maybe less so to other folks, but this is a mug that I actually designed when I was 18 and a youth in this congregation for our 300th anniversary that we celebrated in 2012, because this congregation was originally founded in 1712, so really long time ago. And it has this little image of our church building, and it's a little faded, but it's stuck around because the handle broke off. Anyway, I thought this would be a good thing just because we also care a lot about our history at this congregation, our connection to Theodore Parker, of course, and our history before that, since then. The grounding in history and in the importance of our building and our sort of place here in the neighborhood, I think are all really important things here. So I wanted to show that off.
I love that. I have something a little bit similar to that. Does anyone recognize this congregation? Does it look familiar? This is the congregation that I grew up in Leominster, Massachusetts. And I also grew up Unitarian Universalist and in a congregation that looks kind of a little bit or a lot like this congregation. I was hoping somebody might be tricked into saying it was this congregation, but you all know your building so well. And I brought this because it reminds me of other Unitarian Universalist churches and communities that have shaped me and have formed who I am and how I think about this faith tradition. And also because I also come from a congregation where the architecture and the building and the stained glass were all very important pieces of the spirituality of that community, and thinking about a new congregation that has a love for their building and a love for their history.
Beautiful. Okay, I have one last object that I imagine will be familiar.
Wait a minute. I also brought a chalice. What are the chances? Rose, why did you bring a chalice?
Well, I brought a chalice because it's the symbol of our faith tradition. This flaming...
That's why I brought the chalice.
Of course, we light this every week with the words of shared covenant, and it's just... This is so much of what represents Unitarian Universalism to me, and how we do ritual together, how we share community. Did you bring it for other reasons? Or?
Basically, no. But yes, I brought this chalice also because it reminds me of Unitarian Universalism and of how much I love being a minister and how much I love this faith tradition and how much I love the ways that it has shaped me and helped me to make meaning in the world, and how much hope I have for our future together.
Beautiful, thank you. I've so enjoyed getting to know you a bit more through this, and I hope that I've picked objects that also represent all of you. And I can't wait for this week that we have together to get to know each other better. Okay, I'm now that our Wonder Box story is done, I'm going to invite Michael to lead us in a children's benediction. And any kids who are here today who want to join me in the parish hall for Children's Chapel, we're going to be talking more about this process of getting a new minister, explaining it a bit to you all. And we're going to get to decorate the ballot box that you all will use next week for your votes. Thank you.
For you shall go out in joy, for you shall go out in joy, and come back in peace, and come back in peace. Blessed be.
As we transition into a space of meditation and contemplation, I invite us to sing our centering hymn, Love Will Guide Us.
Love will guide us, peace has cried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night.
So whether you're with us in the sanctuary today or joining us online, I invite us into a space of meditation and prayer, first in words, then in silence, and then in music. As we enter into this space, I invite you to close your eyes or let your gaze become soft. Feel the earth's gentle gravity holding you up, and take a few slow, nurturing breaths. Holy One, Spirit that moves through us and among us and between us, Spirit that connects us to the source of life, we each arrive here today with our separate longings and stories, our individual heartbreaks, our tender hopes, each coming from a different place on our own unique journeys into this shared time, this shared space, for this hour at least, a shared moment on our journey. Some of us arrive today with overflowing gratitude, hearts full of joy, of anticipation, of delight. May we know these moments as precious, and may we hold them close. And some of us arrive today struggling, longing for answers, or grieving losses, or holding fears. May we find here a balm that eases the burdens we carry. Holy One, however we arrived to this moment, may we know that we are not alone in our journeys. May we be reminded here that we are held by a love that is beyond our understanding, but never beyond our reach. Let us dwell together in several moments of shared silence and meditation.
Generosity is the spiritual practice in our Unitarian Universalist congregations. We give to remind ourselves of how many gifts we have to offer. We give to remember that we are part of something bigger than ourselves. We give because we believe in music and sacred space. We give with gratitude all that we have been given and with the faith that together we have more than enough. Links to donate will be in the chat box for those of you off-site, or you can take a meditative moment writing out a check and sending it to the church after the service. Ushers will now come around the sanctuary and collect an offertory for those in the pews who wish to donate something more tangible. Yokiko and our guest oboist, whose name I don't know yet. What's your name?
Jonathan Knox.
Jonathan Knox, oboist, will grace us with 2 interludes by Frederick D. Lewis. The reading today is by Jan Richardson, The Map You Make for Yourself. You have looked at so many doors with longing, wondering if your life lay on the other side. For today, choose the door that opens to the inside. Travel the most ancient way of all, the path that leads you to the center of your life. No map, but the one you make yourself. No provision, but what you already carry, the grace that comes to those who walk the pilgrim's way. Speak this blessing as you set out, and watch how your rhythm slows. The cadence of the road drawing you into the pace that is your own. Eat when hungry, rest when tired. Listen to your dreaming. Welcome detours as doors deeper in. Pray for protection. Ask for guidance you need. Offer gladness for the gifts that come, and then let them go. Do not expect to return by the same road. Home is always by another way, and you will know it not by the light that waits for you, but by the star that blazes inside you, telling you where you are is holy, and you are welcome here.
So several years ago, winter of 2015, as Boston was getting slammed by snowstorm after snowstorm, I was at a professional conference in California. Don't worry, I had to dig my car out of all of the really wet snow when I came back, so I didn't miss it. But I was at a professional conference in California with my friend Allison, and we stuck around for a few days afterwards to take a short vacation. We drove up and down the Pacific coastline and got to hike in the redwood forests of California. Now, Allison and I are very compatible traveling companions. For one thing, we both like hiking, and for another thing, we are both fairly organized, planful people. If you were to make a spectrum of, say, traveling personalities with a relaxed, let's go and see what happens attitude on one end, to, I've researched several destinations for our day trip, 3 different modes of transportation to get there, packed enough layers for both of us, and food for today and tomorrow for this one-day trip. On the other end of the spectrum, we're pretty firmly over here. So it came as a surprise to both of us when on the second day of our trip, we arrived at the trailhead of the trail that we had researched and discovered that we had no cell phone service, no map, and there was not even a map posted at the trailhead that we millennials could take a picture of. And if you remember, we are planners, and this was our plan for the day. So at this point, we had 2 options. We could hike, or we could go home. We considered it, and we decided, having nothing else to do that day, to try the hike, promising each other that we would remember the landmarks at every turn we made, so that we could find our way back to our rental car. It's an adventure, we kept saying to each other. It's an adventure, and we have good company and enough snacks. Allison and I spent a gorgeous few hours that day, alternating between admiring the redwood forest and reassuring each other that we did indeed have enough snacks to make it until dinner time. And each time we got to a split in the trail, we would take a moment to decide which way to go, not really knowing where any of the paths led, but choosing the next step based on some combination of intuition and sheer luck. After an hour or 2, we reached an overlook. With the 70-degree air and the warm sun shining down on us, and if we climbed up a little bit, we could see the Pacific Ocean in a sweeping view. We never got lost exactly. We just didn't really know where we were or where we were going. We didn't know where we would end up, and we didn't have a map to guide our way. But we would have missed the whole thing, the adventure, the sunshine, the redwoods, the gorgeous view, if we had stayed at the trailhead, played it safe, turned around. I think about this hike often because I think that we are in a time in the world, and especially in church, where the maps that have been handed down to us about how to do church, those maps that have been tattered and worn over the generations, those maps are not guiding us in the ways that they once were. Have you noticed this? The landscapes have shifted. The same paths no longer lead where they once did. And more than ever, I believe that the church, not this church specifically, but religion more generally, I believe that the church is in a moment without a map. And friends, these last 3 years especially have felt like we've had to throw the maps out the window, have we not? The pandemic has changed everything about how we did church, at least for a time, from going fully online for worship to re-envisioning how to do religious exploration or caring ministries from afar. And now, as religious communities are regathering and garnering energy again, we're wondering what is going to go back to how it was and what things will never be the same. And some of these changes that we are experiencing in church right now are not entirely due to the pandemic. In the last few decades, we've been hearing about the steady rise of people who claim no religious affiliation. Currently in 2023, 29% of American adults answer none when asked, "What is your religious preference?" In 1993, that number was 9%. It's now 29%. And scholars and pastors alike are observing that the way we do church has been shifting for years. How families participate has changed. Even since I was growing up in my local church, families are less likely to attend weekly but still feel deeply connected to the church. How people understand volunteer roles have changed. The congregation I've served for the past 9 years has struggled to fill roles that are outlined in our committee structures. How people understand long-term membership in institutions has changed, as it feels like our world has both become more connected and less connected at the same time. Stewardship has changed as economic pressures have shifted economic realities for many people. And these widespread cultural trends are not unique to the local church. Yet to me, it often feels like we don't have a map anymore as the world has shifted around us. Do you ever feel that way? Like we don't have a map for this anymore? And sometimes I will admit, I get disheartened or anxious when I hear about trends that suggest that the church as an institution is in decline. But what I think is really happening is religion isn't dying, it's transforming. And it's transforming in a big way, and we don't have a map for the changes, and we don't know what comes next. But here's what I do know. The world needs religious communities. The world needs religious communities that can embrace the spiritual practice of being on a journey without a map to guide us. And this is both very scary and very exciting. Because here we are in the midst of this cultural moment. Here we are, here in this beautiful sanctuary, on this rainy, dreary Sunday, at the beginning of this candidating week together. You, the Theodore Parker Church, searching for your first full-time settled minister in a generation, thinking about what's next, thinking about how you want to grow into the next phase of your becoming, wondering about how to be the best how to best be the voice of liberal religion in Southwest Boston, how to love each other well and work for justice and welcome people into this beautiful sanctuary. And here I am, a 30-something minister who loves Unitarian Universalism and believes in its ability to transform us and save us and heal us and love us into a better world. A person who has deep roots in this city and in this neighborhood, who is so excited to partner with a congregation that wants to bring its light into the world. And so here we both are, right? In this moment, standing at the trailhead of this new journey we are about to take together, And friends, we have no map. Sometime in our journey, we will reach crossroads and we will not know which direction to take. We will discover that the landscape has shifted around us and we have to adjust accordingly. And at some point on this journey that we are about to take together, and I don't know when it will happen or how exactly, some things we have maps for sure. But at some point we will realize that the maps that we've been given may no longer get us to the same destination. And this is true of every church right now. But that doesn't mean that we are unprepared for the journey. Quite the opposite. I think that we are so well prepared, even if we don't know where the paths may lead us. Because in all of my learning about you, Theodore Parker Church, reading your materials and interviewing for a weekend with your fabulous minister search committee, here's what I can already see that you are bringing on the journey. I know that you are bringing community. My goodness, this shines through so clearly, front and center. This was one of the first and foremost very compelling things about this congregation was the strong sense of how much you all care for and enjoy one another. From your caring ministry team, to your monthly family game nights, to your winter fair, to your candlelight dinners, how you pivoted and stayed so engaged as a congregation when church moved to Zoom. It is so clear that this congregation has a robust and warm and welcoming and thriving sense of community and engagement. And you are also bringing covenant on this journey. The clear sense of trust that this congregation has in its leaders and in one another. From the care you bring to this building, to your financial stewardship, and the commitment that you bring to trying to be the people that you say you want to be. Because that is what church asks of us, is it not? Church is a place where we come to practice being the people we say we want to be. And it is so clear that you bring a strong sense of commitment and covenant to your life together. And finally, it is clear to me that you are bringing love on this journey. Your love for one another, your love for this congregation, your love for the world, which is lived out in your justice ministries, that spirit of love and mystery that is beyond our ability to name in words, which some of us might call God and others of us might not. However we name or don't name, that spirit, that love that sustains us and holds us through the tender and beautiful and heartbreaking and sacred moments of our lives. We are bringing love on this journey as well. And friends, I'm bringing some things on this journey as well. I'm bringing hope for our shared future together, hope for what Unitarian Universalism can be, transforming lives and helping to heal the world, even if it's just this small corner of Boston. Because as Unitarian minister Edward Everett Hale said, I cannot do everything, but I can do something, and that something is not nothing. I am bringing hope for a future in which we will widen the circle of welcome and build beloved community right here on earth. And I am also bringing faith. I'm bringing faith that religious community has something vital and life-affirming to offer in these times. Despite what the cynics and the pundits might suggest, I'm bringing faith that another world is possible and that religion can help us build the bridge between the world as it is and the world that it might be. And I'm bringing faith that we don't always need to know where we are going, because the thing that matters most is who we are on the journey with and how we treat each other along the way. And I'm bringing faith that this is the congregation that I want to be doing that work with, building beloved community with right here in West Roxbury and the surrounding neighborhoods. And finally, friends, I am also bringing love on this journey. I am bringing a love for Unitarian Universalism, for this faith tradition which has saved me and transformed me and helped me make meaning through hard times. I'm bringing a love of justice that flows from a love of people. I'm bringing a love for congregations and for church people, a love for children and for elders and for multi-generational communities, a love for singing together and eating together and dreaming together about how to be the best versions of ourselves and our institutions that we can be. So, Theodore Parker Church, as we embark together on this journey of building church and being church and growing church and figuring out what the world needs from a church like this, because our broken and bruised world so desperately needs what this congregation has to offer. I am sorry to say in this moment that I do not think we have a map for what comes next. But I do believe that we have what we need for this adventure. We have good company and enough snacks. And you should come to coffee hour after this because I have heard that there will be fabulous snacks. But we are also bringing connection and covenant and faith and hope and most of all, love to guide our way along this journey. I am so looking forward to being on this journey with you. May it be so, and amen. I invite us to rise in body or spirit for our closing hymn, number 1020, Wo Ya Ya.
We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within that we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Oh yeah, yeah, 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 yeah.
Hi. Candidating week. It's so wonderful to see so many people here in the sanctuary and on Zoom to meet Reverend Heather. I have a few notes about today and this upcoming week. One, I can assure you, the ministerial search team has been as anxious to have start as you are. So first, everyone is invited to an extended coffee hour in the parish hall right after this to meet and get a chance to start the conversation with Reverend Heather. The coffee hour is going to go till 1 o'clock, and there is a ton of food. So we can get the gathering started. We want you to know that there will not be the usual minister's receiving line here over by Teddy, because we know everybody wants to get to say hello, and that could mean a very long wait to get to the coffee hour. So when we're done with the service, please head over to the parish hall right away. Grab your name tag, so there's a lot of names and faces for Heather to get to know. And as you may have read in the e-news this week and Reverend Joe's note, during candidating week, our ministerial candidate serves as the congregation's minister. So in addition to her leading worship and participating in the many gatherings this week, it's also intended for you to get to experience Reverend Heather as our minister. So that means if a pastoral care concern comes up or anything else for which you would contact the minister, Reverend Heather is your girl. The board leadership, the staff, the search committee, and our caring ministry team all know how to reach her, so if you need to, be in touch with anybody from one of those groups. And a note that we have a lot of people signed up for the Candidating Week events. I think we're up to a little over 70 people, which is wonderful. And there are still events for people to join. The schedules are on the table right here and also in the parish hall. And then finally, a reminder that next Sunday after the worship service, TPC will hold a special congregational meeting to vote on whether to call Reverend Heather as our next settled minister. This will be a hybrid meeting, meaning you can participate in person in the sanctuary or on Zoom. We do strongly encourage anybody who is able to come in person. We're asking people to register for the meeting to let us know whether you're going to come in person or online so we can be better prepared for this. Look for an email that'll come out tomorrow morning with more details and information on how to do that. So thanks for listening to all of this, and we're all looking forward to a really great candidating week. Thank you.
We close our worship with words from the Reverend Wayne Arneson. Take courage, friends. The way is often hard, the path is never clear, and the stakes are very high. Take courage, for deep down there is another truth. You are not alone. May it be so, and amen. And I'm so looking forward to meeting you all this week.
folks on Zoom, the breakout room is open, and I'll leave it open for about 15 minutes. Yes.